Hello, and welcome to the Vertica Podcast. I'm your inaugural first host. This is the only time you'll hear my voice opening this podcast because I had the honor and privilege of introducing the host of the podcast, Katrina Wyckoff. And she's with us today, and we're going to do a little bit of an interesting episode where we're going to share with you a little bit about the podcast, a little bit about her background, and what's you can expect next with the incredible things that she's doing. I've had the honor and privilege of working with her over the last, I don't know how long we've working together, 4 or 5 months. And in that time, we've built the brand and we've built a lot of time together in really creating what is now becoming this incredible Vertica brand. Her background as an entrepreneur is she's been a world champion pole fitness individual, as well as she has her own couple franchises, her own stores of successful pole fitness studios. And she's really put together something quite exciting that we're going to share with you and unveil on this podcast. And in all the people that I've worked with in branding, there's very few that are so resourceful, so unbelievably committed, and just take on the challenge and take full bite of it. So quite honestly, I'm so excited about this brand. I'm so excited about Katrina. I think I'm her biggest fan. So without further ado, let me introduce you, Katrina. Welcome to the show, or welcome to your show.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
So this is for all of you. This is just as raw and real as it's going to get. So, Katrina, real quick, just tell us a little bit about what we could expect from this podcast, so someone tuning in real quick can just get a real high level view of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Vertica, we live our lives off of our manifesto, which is every body belongs, every body is beautiful, and every body can go vertical. And so really we're taking those ideas and putting this now as how this actually shows up in life. So taking this and looking at the purpose of this manifesto, how does this show up for our clients? How does it show up for other people? And how are we really using these 3 pillars to make a difference in the world?
And this world that you're describing, what's in this world? Like what kind of guests would you anticipate? Like what kind of topics would you cover?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about body image. We're going to be talking about breaking through limiting beliefs, and then people just achieving great things, even despite odds, and really just making the world a better place through living these principles.
And why a podcast? Like what do you think is why do you think this is important? Why now?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I'm so excited to do the podcast because through our years of working with all of these clients and the people that we've met, we've had so many incredible stories come through. And I can't wait to share some of these with people. And also just to give people really an insight into this whole idea of what Vertica is about and what it's really like to live a vertical life, or a life that's on purpose, a life that is free from all of these limiting beliefs, and to just really bring that into the world so people can see behind the scenes as to why we do the things that we do.
So now I'm going to connect Vertica because it's the Vertica podcast. What is Vertica?
Yeah, so Vertica is this idea of living life vertically. So what that means is living life where anything is possible, where you're not tethered by all of the things that, all of these limiting beliefs that really bring people down. And so this idea that people have unlimited potential, they're breaking through glass ceilings, and they're just really making change in the world.
And so what does this look like in terms of a business?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the franchise is concerned, a Vertica franchise, there is so much potential with a Vertica franchise, and just helping people to see that when they apply these things in their business, anything is really possible.
So you're starting a franchise, And this is born from your own studios that you have. Tell us a little bit about that. How long you've been doing that, and what prompted you to decide to turn this into a franchise?
Okay, great questions. Yeah, so we started doing pole in 2013, so almost 10 years ago. And, it just was really took off so fast. And we quickly went from one studio and then to two studios, and so many people coming in, and everybody that came in was just like, wow, this is something really amazing that's going on in here. And so as this grew, and then I was like, you know what? We really want to be able to share what we're doing with as many people as possible. There's really something magical here. And so that was really where the idea of franchise was born from, of this desire to share this magic with as many people as possible.
And what makes it different?
What makes it so different is this manifesto. It's the way that we live our lives and the way that we interact with each other there within the building, and this belief system. And Scott, I cannot tell you how many people have walked through our doors, and they start coming to class, and it's just within a couple of classes that they'll say to us, this has absolutely not only changed my life, but saved my life. And they'll share just these incredibly heart-wrenching stories that they've gone through, and how pole fitness came to them, specifically Vertica fitness, at a time in their life that was so challenging, and it's really what got them through. And from my own background of having overcome quite a few things, and then really having leaned into pole fitness as the thing that has really healed me and helped me to achieve my own potential, that's where I felt this huge responsibility to share this message with as many people as possible. I was like, this isn't something that we can just sit on and keep to ourselves. We owe this to all of those people out there who are looking for this, to share it with them.
And how has it healed you?
Yeah. So just going a little bit into my particular story, I come from an amazing family, really just amazing parents. But I had an eating disorder for many, many years, and really struggled with my mental health. And I was lucky enough to be able to receive the professional therapy and that kind of thing that I needed, but I never really felt whole until I started doing pole. And once I started doing pole and had really brought this, the manifesto is pulled from my heart as far as the things that I saw that were wrong with the world. And I said, I'm drawing a line in the sand as far as what's okay and what's not okay. And this is the only thing that we're letting into our lives. And as I really poured that out into the universe, I was able to find that for myself also.
The one thing I've discovered, by working with you is I was so surprised by the athleticism, the, it, what you've done with vertical fitness is just almost taking the stigma out of maybe what people have in their mind of what this could be or is. And it starts with that origin story you first told me when you were, I guess I'm not sure what you were training for, but if you don't mind just describing the origin story, and sort of lean that into a little bit of also maybe the backdrop of like being how that turned into you becoming a champion. I'd love to hear that, that arc of that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is such a fun story, but it's true.
Yeah,
And
it's a good one.
so I was doing a different fitness training, as I had as I had sought to really bring this healing into my life. I had done a lot of fitness and just trying to focus on my physical health. And so I was at a facility where I was doing a fitness training and a different fitness certification, not for pole fitness. I had never even seen pole fitness before. And in order to get to the facility where I was training, I had to walk past a pole fitness studio. And as I walked past, I looked in the window and I literally put my hands on the glass and put my face up so I could look into the window. And I saw the most incredible things that were happening in there. I saw these women, and they were all different body types, all different ages, all different sizes. And they were doing the most just incredible things. It was like they were defying gravity. My mind was just blown. And when I look back, it's not even like they were doing that fancy of tricks, but to me, it was still something that I was like, whoa, there is something crazy happening in here. And so I put my hands on the glass and I looked in and I literally said out loud, that is where I belong. And honestly, from that point, it just kind of it just really unrolled. It just really developed as I was like leaned into this feeling that I had in my heart that I was supposed to be doing this, and that this potential that I saw them doing, where they were basically defying gravity, that I could have that in my life. And so, I started attending. This studio is actually 2 hours from my house. And so it's not like I could just grab a membership or something like that. But I started commuting and taking private lessons and just learning it. And I did, I was able to, because I was so committed, I was able to pick up pretty quickly. And then from there, I basically took this concept and of pole fitness, which then developed over time into vertical fitness. But I took this concept of pole fitness and I put up poles in my studio because I had a children's dance studio at the time. And I said, hey, we're doing pole. And so basically it was like creating a new studio right there. And people started coming, and I just really couldn't stop it at that point. Not that I wanted to, but it was just like, so many people resonated with this idea of having a fitness program that was fun. And then also this idea of like, yeah, anybody can do this and anybody can feel beautiful while they're doing it. And so from there, as far as just getting into the championships and kind of tying this all forward, I was just amazed at the athleticism. I was like, this is so much more than just women coming to feel sexy, which is great. We absolutely do that. That's a huge part of it. But there's more to this. This is a sport. And so I started just looking into what it is pole sport. And I stumbled onto the U.S. Pole Sports Federation, this amazing, amazing federation full of athletes from all over the country who go and compete at world competitions. And so I spent the next 3 years basically traveling and competing, and we competed all over the place. We competed in Italy. We competed in Liechtenstein. We competed. We were actually the delegates to the World Games in Jakarta. So we went and showed what pole sport was to the Olympic Committee there in Indonesia. And so I had the opportunity to coach tons of athletes during this time. Also, we won the national championship, went on to compete at several world championships, ended up coming in top 10. And yeah, so it just really, I laugh because here I was, this basically, mom from Oro Valley, Arizona, just like this nowhere place. And then all of a sudden I'm a national championship. And I just love to tell people, hey, look, if I could do this, anybody could do this. And not that you're not going to have to work super, super, super hard, but anything's possible.
That's a crazy story. So, when you're doing that journey, you've also now have evolved into being involved. Sorry, you've been in. I don't know if you've been leading, or maybe want to describe the what's going on within the Olympics and sort of your journey there, because now it's like really this whole sport is on the cusp of just explosion. Maybe share a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, so this is so fun. It's so cool. In 2020, I was asked to step in as the president of that federation, so the president of the U.S. Pole Sports Federation. And so now I have this responsibility and opportunity to really help move this forward into the Olympics. And so I'm working with the USA Sports Council. I work with POSA, which is the International Federation. And I have also the opportunity to work with other federations around the world, the other national federations. We're putting on the Pan American Championship here in Tucson in September. We're also hosting Aerial Worlds in Tucson. And so we are in order to get to the Olympics, there's basically a long checklist of things that have to happen. And so we are at the forefront of leading that charge to basically knock out that list. And so we're focused on that all the time, round the clock, making it happen. The list includes things like having certain amounts of federations, having certain amounts of competitions, and and I mean, there's a ton on it, but that's what we're doing. And I am 100% confident that we will take this to the Olympics. I have no doubt in my mind. You are going to see pole fitness, vertical fitness there at the Olympics. It's going to happen, and I cannot wait for it. I'm so excited.
I believe you. Yeah. If anybody can do it, you can. And, so that's really exciting, to be part of Vertica, this podcast, the journey. Are you going to be sharing the journey and including some Olympic components to this podcast, or what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I have discovered in my journey is just how much it takes to be an athlete. And when we were competing, I literally was training 6 hours a day, just my routine. Like, that doesn't include all of the other, self training and then the teaching and all of that I was doing. We were training our routine 6 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. And so really, to be an athlete at these upper levels, it is just the mindset that has to go into this is huge. And that's what I always tell people. What happens on the pole happens in life. And when you learn these lessons on the pole, they come up and they show up in life. And so that's one of the things I'm super excited about doing on the podcast is bringing in these high-level athletes, and mostly from pole, but we'll probably have some from just high-level athletes in general, and talking about how they have been able to achieve such success. What are the steps that they've had to take? What's the dedication that they've had to do? And I mean, really breaking it down to what's the space that they've had to create in their lives? How much have they had to connect with their goal? And then what are the specific strategies that they have done in order to achieve their success?
Wow. And what you were saying, you made mention the lessons you learn on pole, the translated lessons in life. Can you give us an example?
Yes. It just really, this is so much the purpose of doing vertical fitness, is that when you learn these lessons on the pole, your life changes. And, people come into class and things are hard. Pole hurts when you're first learning it. Well, it can hurt. It doesn't always hurt. But, there's struggles, there's pain, there's moments when you're like, I cannot do this. It is a move will be way too hard. And when you learn,
I saw a picture of you vertical, like going out sideways on a pole and someone standing on you. And I'm like, I actually didn't think it was physically possible.
Right.
Like, I think
Yeah.
people like maybe when they listen to this episode, maybe when we're saying that, I'll put up a picture. We'll put up an image of that so people that are going to YouTube can see it. It's
Yeah.
so I think maybe paint a picture of like how it's not what you think. That's the
Yeah.
piece that really grabbed me was, and the other piece, if I can just interject to that, is it's not just women.
Right.
There's like incredible male athletes in this.
Yeah, incredible male athletes, absolutely. And then not just women, but people of all ages, all genders. And obviously, like, the children don't do the sexy stuff, but there are kids as young as 5 years old that are going and competing at these national championships. And then at 10, they go and compete at the world championships. So yeah, and then we have people that do this up into their 50s, 60s, and 70s that are still competing. They're still doing this high level stuff. So just in answer to that question, as far as like the movement, what you're talking about is this move called the Iron X. And honestly, when I started pole, I could not lift my feet off the floor. Like, I was horrible.
I think that would be now.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
That would be me now.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's most
Maybe for a
people.
second.
Yeah, most people really like. It's just it is difficult for people to do, because what pole asks you to do is it asks you to change from a regular person into an aerialist. And in order for that to happen, it takes time. It takes a huge amount of muscle growth and muscle connection. So kind of pulling this all together, the move that you're talking about is called an Iron X. And basically, you're holding onto the pole with your hands, and then your body is out sideways in an X. And, when I was competing, I could hold that move for as long as anybody wanted. Most people, some people will struggle to ever do that move at all, even for 1 second. But because I had focused on this, I got to where I could hold it for as long as I needed to. And then I continued to train it, and I was like, well, what else is possible? And so we came up this where the person that I was competing with, my pole partner, she would actually stand on my body and let go of the pole, and then I would hold her up. And so kind of tying this together, there have been so many times in my life when I have come up just against huge amounts of struggle, even just recently. So like an example would be the pandemic. During the pandemic, we all went through this together. We all know how hard it was. I have a lot of children. All of a sudden, they were all at home. I was trying to homeschool. And then also during that time, the world closed. And I had 4 businesses, all with different concepts at the time. And so I am now going, oh my gosh, I have to homeschool all of these children while trying to save my dream 4 times over.
Wow.
And I'm literally rebuilding all of these businesses from scratch. Anyways, we all went through it at some level. We all had some incredible challenges, but I would tell myself on a daily basis, if I can do an Iron X with somebody standing on me, I can do anything. And I would literally just go back to that all the time of, if I was able to accomplish that, there's nothing I can't do. There's nothing I can't do. And it might be hard. It might take a while. It might be some tears, but I'll figure it out. And I'll be able to develop the personal strength to where I can do whatever I need to, and for as long as I need to.
So that's probably scaring some people to the sport when they hear Iron X. Who really can benefit from this, and if you could kind of share a little bit about what are the different categories that of fitness that someone could experience at one of your Vertica stores, your studios rather. Not that this podcast is about that, but I think it's a really important juncture, because I think it kind of really, I anticipate what you're going to say, because I feel that also is a great segue with the type of guests and type of different ways that you might even approach the podcast. So do you want to share with that a little bit?
Yeah, so when we talk about the Olympics, I always want to make sure people realize that not everybody that comes to the studio wants to be an Olympian. In fact, most people, a majority of people never compete just because it's not something that they're interested in. And that's totally fine. Like there is still so much to within the studio, even for those that are not looking to become Olympians. And so what we offer, and again, where this has been born out of this methodology, as far as what did I implement in the beginning that was giving people results? What was giving people results, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally? And so we have 3 different categories of classes that we offer. The first is what we call fit classes. And these are a lot of just really focused on helping people physically become their best. And so conditioning, a lot of cardio, but it's all done through just these incredibly fun and exciting methods. So the fit classes. The second we have is these flirt classes. And this has been born out of, for me, this desire to just really feel beautiful and connected to my body. And so in these classes, there's movement, sometimes it's sensual movement, really just embracing that side of people and allowing them that safe space to come and have fun and feel beautiful, to love what they're seeing in the mirror and to just reconnect to themselves. And so we do choreography in those classes, and we have also some just really fun, high energy dance classes that happen in conjunction with the pole. And then the last category that we have, so we have fit, flirt, and then the last category is called fly. And this is where we have the leveled classes where we teach the skills. So the very basic level 1, we teach people how to hold on to the pole and walk around it. Like really, really simple. We teach them how to just do the very most basic spins. And then we actually take them all the way through level 10. And so in level 10 is where people are doing like crazy backflips off the pole and all of this other stuff. And so an Iron X, depending on the variation that you're doing, falls in right about level 6, level 7. And I mean, someone standing on you is probably, I don't know, level 20. But yeah, I tell people, because sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I could never do this, or I could never do what you guys do. And I'm like, you know what? This is one of my most favorite part about this is that you can. Our bodies are meant to grow. And when we put them through physical stress, physical challenges, they adapt. And so that's specifically what we've built into this program. And I tell people if they come 3 times a week for 3 months, they'll be doing things that they never thought were possible. They'll be defying gravity. Maybe they won't be doing an Iron X, but they're really going to start to defy gravity even at 3 months.
Sounds like a buzz doing that. Now you have in your fly program, is that part, or is there an offshoot that you're going to create a team to go to the Olympics or to championships and so forth? Because I understand you have a team component. You want to share that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have Team Vertica, and that's our competition team. And so this is, an additional opportunity for people. It's not necessarily, again, we have a lot of people who come through our program who never will compete, and that's totally great. But there are people who are like, okay, this is for me. I want to go compete. I want to really push myself. And so if I can just say why people want to compete, because this is so essential. Yes, people love the medals. They love to, this idea of going to the Olympics. But when people sign up to compete, it's because they're recognizing in themselves the opportunity to achieve a higher level. And so they sign up for this competition because they want to put themselves in a position where they're going to grow, where they're going to make that commitment to themselves, to their coach, to the other athletes, that they're going to show up. And maybe it's not, 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, but they're going to show up. They're going to work hard. They're going to set goals. They're going to control their mindset, and they're going to have that personal growth in order to go and compete. So with that, because that's really what we're all about, is this personal growth, this personal empowerment, we've created what we call Team Vertica. And it's an opportunity for people to come. They sign up for a competition. We help them pick the competition that's going to be the right one for them. We help them understand the right level to compete at, because, there are people that are at a beginning level that will still sign up for competition. And that's great. There's a place for them within those amateur divisions. And so, they sign up, and then they're working with a coach. They're working with someone that's certified in pole sport, understands what the judges are looking for, understands also what it takes to create an athlete and what it takes to create a winning routine. And so they're getting that opportunity to just have this world-class training in movement, mindset, and just in competition in general, and be a part of a team.
So this is one of the things when I talk to people about you, and I just share my enthusiasm for what you're doing. And this is why anyone that's listening, why I think this podcast is going to go to the moon, is because you're a leader. You're leading the industry. You're a leader of your business. You're an entrepreneur, self-made and challenged. You're a mom doing this. The stories that you have of overcoming that people can relate to, and then the mind of a champion, and you're being mentorship and coaching, just all of this combined, I think is going to make for a really a multi sort of faceted sort of podcast, everything from the sport itself. But I don't see it being just about the sport. But I also see it about the business and business in general. And I see it about mindset and about just being encouraged in whatever challenge you're faced with. And one of the things that I really think that is important to sort of like finish maybe on the franchise discussion almost, is the idea of this. You've masked, not you, just maybe this industry, is you've masked fitness with fun. And that is why I think this is going to explode. It's already exploding. It's not even... It is, because in your experience, when you've been telling me, I remember sitting there, I'm just going to share the story. We were when I first we talked about working together. And by the way, just as a background, I was helping her with her brand strategy, and, and I was still understanding the business. I'm sitting at the bar, and I said, why don't you go talk to people about this? I think is what I asked, if I remember correctly. I was asking, like, sharing it. Let's just see how many people we talked to. It's curious. And every single woman that came up, the reaction was a lean in, was like, tell me more, was a level of excitement. And I'm like, I've never seen, when somebody heard about doing this, being a client, or it wasn't so much about the business, it was just about doing this and their curiosity or their excitement. It was like 1,000%. And I'm like, how is that possible? Do you remember this? And I was like, Absolutely. It really threw me back. I mean, that's what started the relationship. So maybe describe, why are people so addicted? Because when you told me, going, Scott, you don't understand. People, once they start, they get so excited about this. And I was like, really? Tell me a little bit more. And then when I saw firsthand, and now that I've been really immersed in this, I'm like, I got to tell you guys, this is why this is going to be explosive. And the journey that you're going to go on about business and the growth you're going to have the franchise, I think is going to be an exciting podcast to watch. But let's go back to the why people love this so much.
Yeah, so the story that you're talking about, where you and I were together and we were talking to all these people, and your reaction was like, wow, this is something, so crazy that people are reacting like this. And I'm like, Scott, this is how everybody reacts. This is always how it is.
He goes, boy, this is normal. I'm like, really? I'm like, this must be because this is the people we know, right? Like I still wouldn't believe it, because it was like so far removed from my experience in helping people with brand, understanding a business, and sharing it. You don't get this kind of reaction. I've never had this before.
Yeah, people want to be a part of it. And I have done a lot of thinking about why is this? And I believe that this immediately speaks to something within people, and men too, people of all gender, but especially women, where they can recognize that there is a part of them that is not being fully expressed. And I'm not just talking the sensual side, I'm talking all of it. A part of them where they have community, a part of them where they have just this incredible self-confidence, and a part of them where they feel like they could go out and do anything. And when they hear this concept of pole fitness and Vertica, they're like, that's what I'm missing in my life. They're having that same moment, even in just that 2 seconds that I had where I put my hands on the glass and I said, that's where I belong. People have that same connection over and over and over again, where they go, I'm missing something in my life. And maybe it's not missing. Maybe they're just going, there's something more that could be in my life. And this is going to help me to find it. This is going to help me to achieve it. And I'm so passionate, as you're talking about the fitness and all of these other things, in our methodology, so much of it does, of people achieving their full potential comes from the physical space of being safe in their bodies, of being connected to their bodies, of feeling healthy in their bodies. And if we don't have that, it's very difficult to move forward into having, a mental, all of this mental mindset and power. And so I love that pole fitness provides for people a fitness program that they cannot wait to go do, right? They wake up in the morning and go, I've got to get to class, right? At night, they want to go to class again. We have to tell people to go home. It's unlike anything else that I've ever seen in my many years within the fitness industry, where people just get addicted to their workout. And that's so, so powerful in just unlocking fitness for people, right? And I mean, nothing against the gym, nothing against the treadmill. I have a treadmill, but my treadmill collects dust compared to the amount that my pole gets used, right?
Well, it's funny that you use the word treadmill, because we remember doing value proposition design and your brand strategy, and the piece that light bulbed for me was the fact that fitness, doing the same workout, is you're changing up routines, but it's like a treadmill. It's the same thing. And I related this back when I was living on the North Shore of Hawaii, and why I was so obsessed over windsurfing was because I was always challenging myself to do more tricks and more things. It was about progression. That is what I see as being the unbelievable reason why people are just loving this, because the progression of possibility is within reach. It's not like, for me, windsurfing, that's a huge reach for somebody to go from learning to windsurf to doing back loops. But on pole fitness, you have a path, a methodology to taking anybody. I think you said you could get anybody vertical in how much time?
So 3 times a week for 3 months, we'll have people they'll be defying gravity.
That's a pretty big offer. I mean, when you see what vertical looks like, when you start looking on what you provide and some of these athletes, it's exciting.
Yeah,
but it's that progression, right?
Yeah, it's the progression. 100%. It's the progression. It's the opportunity on a daily basis, or however often people are doing this, to come in and give it their all and to grow and to accomplish something new. And that's so empowering in the mindset. And so because of that, people want to come back. They want to come back. They want to come back. And because they're coming back, they're getting stronger. They're getting stronger, right? It's just this perfect storm where people are getting stronger. They're getting more mentally fit for the game. They're being more in control of their emotions as they're training. And, they're experiencing incredible results, even just at the physical level. just incredible. It changes people's bodies so much because it has to. It has to. You have to change into an aerialist in order to do this. And so it's just beautiful how it helps people become the best version of themselves.
And I think that your vibrant vision of taking this sport and removing the stigma of what people think this is, and that's why you decided to call it Vertica and vertical fitness. I'd love to hear you share a little bit of that, as well as the true origins. Most people think the origins is stripper poles. It's not. It's actually much deeper than that. Do you want to maybe share that? Because I think that is going to be absolutely be the reason that this explodes.
Yeah, sure. So as far as just the removing the stigma, before I had really experienced pole fitness, I had just thought, oh, well, it's just for strippers. That's all that there is, just because I didn't know. I hadn't been exposed to it. And so I thought, oh, well, that's something that I would never do. And then I experienced it. I saw what was actually happening. And yes, of course, there are people who, even at our studio, we have a very sexy side, but guess what? There's a sexy side to people in general anyways. And so that's just really what that is about, is not necessarily having this be that we're trying to train people for the strip club. We're trying to allow people to fully experience their own beautiful sides within them, including their own sensuality, if that's something that they would like to. Some people, they could care less about the sensual movement on the pole. They just want to focus on the fitness. They just want to focus on the moves. But so as we've said, okay, there's not something inherently wrong with being able to feel beautiful in your body. And so just allowing people that safe space to do that. And then really seeing that this is a sport. This is a sport. And when we go and we're competing at the actual pole championships, in fact, you're not allowed to do sexy moves in those categories. You have to follow everything according to the Olympic charter. And so sexy movement is not allowed. And it really is a sport at every sense of every level. And then, so yeah, we really believe that we need to help people see that pole fitness, vertical fitness is so multidimensional. It's so multidimensional, and there really is this side of it that is very, very athletic. And that makes it accessible for people. That makes them think, okay, I'm willing to try this. Whereas if it were just high heels and rolling around on the floor, they might not be able to open themselves up to being like, okay, I'd like to see this. And then as far as the origins go, I want to first and foremost recognize, because I think this is really important, that a large part of what we do does in fact come from the strip clubs. We don't try and hide that. There is definitely origin that comes from the strip clubs, but that's not where it started. That's not necessarily what we're doing today. What we're doing today is extremely different. And really, pole has been practiced for a really long time. There's the Chinese pole. There's the people in India that do pole as really part of yoga. It was done in circuses. And so it wasn't until much more modern times that this pole gymnastics had come into the strip clubs. And so, like I said, we're not trying to, it really is part of my personal just thoughts that I don't like to strip or shame. I always want to recognize that there are some beautiful things that the strippers have done for the industry. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that comes and does pole is associated with the stripping industry. That's separate. There are places where people choose to have it overlap, but what we're doing is fitness. What we're doing is dance. What we're doing is personal empowerment. What we're doing is sport.
I think, people that are going to be listening to your podcast are going to they're going to follow and see. There's a couple things that are exciting about this is like, it's like being part of something that was before yoga became something. It's like at the cusp, right? So being on trend, but having the vision to actually disrupt it, having the leadership to be part of like the journey and making it real. All these things I think are going to be an exciting journey in this podcast, in my opinion. And, when I'm looking at this journey, and the one that I think is going to strike a chord the most that I'd love for us to talk about is your tagline. Share with us how this came about, the vision for this, and just, maybe jump into that.
Yeah. So this just brings me so much joy to talk about this, just because I love knowing that what we're doing is important, and knowing that what we're doing is helping to make the world a better place. And that, sounds a little like, oh, whatever, Katrina's crazy, but it's true. It just really is true that this is something that the world needs, and we're providing it. And so our tagline is "Every body belongs." And in the fitness industry, so often, not just in the fitness industry, in society in general, there's this picture of what beautiful looks like. And so often it's unattainable. And it's not even real. We know that most of the pictures that we see out on ads and that kind of stuff are airbrushed, they're photoshopped, they're not even real. And so this has really become at the center of our mission, is recognizing that every body needs to have a place where they belong, and a place where they can have fitness, where they can come and work out and feel good about themselves, do that for themselves at a physical level, and then be able to fill themselves emotionally and mentally also. And, fitness is not just for people that have this perfect body, right? I mean, it's just mind-blowing to even say those words out loud, because it's like, duh, of course, fitness is not just for the perfect body. And yet that's so much of what so many people get caught up on is, well, I can't show up to the gym, or I can't go and do this because I'm overweight, or because I don't look a certain way, or because I don't fit into a certain stereotype. And that has really become my passion, is just explaining to people, providing to people, showing people, hey, you belong here. You're welcome here. And here you're beautiful. And honestly, everywhere you're beautiful. When you recognize that, then you can carry that with you everywhere. And it's been so fun, just all of the different people that come in through the studio and through the business. And as, at first people will come and they're in like leggings and longer shirts. And then, after a few weeks, they're down to sports bras and short shorts. And they do that because pole works with skin to pole contact. So we're not wearing small clothing just for fun. Part of it's for fun, but it really is so that we can stick to the pole. And so we see people go through this evolution where they feel comfortable with their body to be able to remove some of the extra clothing so that they can do the movement. And it's so great because we say, hey, cellulite is welcome. Stretch marks are welcome. Mom bodies, dad bodies, they're welcome here. They're normal here. They are appreciated here. They're celebrated here. And yes, we're all on this journey to become the very best version of ourselves, but that doesn't mean right here at this moment we can't love and appreciate exactly where we are.
Wow. So if you're listening to this podcast, like, do you not think they're going to be super motivated? Like, I'm 1,000% certain that this is going to reach such a broad audience, even if they're not going to be jumping into a studio to be a client, even if they're not going to jump out to buy a franchise. Although I think both are going to be deeply over time considering doing both once they get to know you. But the lessons in the audience you bring are going to be such a not pole fitness specific, and I think it speaks to the next thing I want to talk about, which is an extension of everybody belongs, which is community. I think the cool thing that you're doing is you're really being an innovator in the space, in fitness, and just in general. Like, you're using every modality, every tool. I mean, you and I've talked about it. I mean, the boundaries and the future vision of things that you're going to sort of release and unfold. I'd love to talk about the community, because I think if you're listening to this podcast, you can be part of the community. I mean, it's like, is it fair to say, like, you have a very wide open digital community? You want to share with that the vision of that and a little more about that?
Sure. So, as far as like the community in general, one of the things that is for sure just so true is that people come for their own personal reasons, right? Yes, some people do come to the studio with a friend, but most of the time people are coming by themselves. This is something that they have connected with and they're doing for themselves. But within just a couple of classes, they're like, oh my gosh, I am now part of this family. And it's not just like people that I wave to as I'm walking in and out of a facility. These are now my family. These are people who, when I do a move, they're jumping up and down, screaming, they're high-fiving me, right? They're there every step of the way in my journey inside the studio, and they're actually supporting me in my journey outside the studio. And this is where it's been so fun as we have been able to connect. Not only
And you just
now
launched
in the
this thing,
studio.
and you just launched the community, and I'm in it, and I'm like, you've got more. I've been doing my community for almost a year. You have 10 times more engagement than I do
Well,
already.
thank you. I mean, I've learned from you, but it really just comes back to this magic of what we were talking about before. I'm like, this is normal, Scott. this
It's true.
is how we operate. This is how we operate, where people want to be involved. They want to fully, just completely become a part of everything that we're doing, and so. A little backstory to the community is I was permanently banned from Facebook. And it's kind of a long story, but the Cliffs Notes version is that I'm so careful on what I post on social media. You know, I am always very professional. I know the rules, but people will still report my content. Who knows why? Because they want to report it. And so I had been reported and I had been banned. And during that time, someone had hacked my account and posted some really inappropriate, very sad things they'd posted child pornography. They'd posted child pornography to my page. And because of that, rightfully so, Facebook took everything down. They locked it out. So they said, you're never going back. And so, I mean, this is a whole other story of my journey back into social media. But during that time, Scott, you know, you had really encouraged me to start my own community. And I was like, you know what? This is so the right thing to do, because we're all about creating a safe space. And social media is not safe. It's not safe the way that it exists out there. And so we're going to create our own where people can come. They're not just at the complete mercy of the algorithms. They're not constantly being reported. And more importantly, they can be in a place where they're there for that content, right? I have tons of people who really aren't on regular social media who come to our community, our digital community, because they know that it's a place where it's going to be positive. It's going to be stuff that they want to see. It's going to have content that they can't wait for, that they want to engage with. And so this is really where in just a short amount of time, it has grown. And it's been so fun because through this community, we say that once you're part of the Pole family, you're forever part of the Pole family. And we've seen that. So we have had a bunch of people who have joined our community that were students of ours, 5-6 years ago and have moved away. And, sooner or later we'll have Vertica Fitnesses where they are, but we, at this particular point, they are not able to connect with us except for digitally. And so they're back in the community. They're posting their pictures, they're supporting each other, they're doing challenges, they're holding space for each other. And that's just been so fun and just such a blessing in general. We always say life happens for me, not to me. And so as I was going through this really tragic time in my life, as I was losing all of my social media and all of the content that had been on there, I was just focused on what we were creating instead. And, just that whole mission anyways, that's how we operate. When something happens, we go, what do we learn from it? How can we make something better? And that's really what has happened with our digital community.
Yeah, you are one resilient, resourceful individual. And I remember when that was happening and your ability to pivot. And I think that's going to be some of the lessons you're going to share in business as you go through this journey. It's just like, and all the lessons that you can share. You could do like 20 episodes on all the different like little pieces that you've learned, I'm sure. So I hope we hear some solo episodes from you. I think that's what a lot of people are asking me on my podcast is like more solo episodes. I'm going to do the same. I'd encourage you to do the same. I'm real time coaching you right now, but
Awesome.
Because I think people want to hear that, right? Like, because interviewing is awesome, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to hear from you. So if we could roadmap the future a little bit, because I have a little insight, because you and I have gone through this journey of building a brand, and hopefully you feel that that's really created clarity for you, and now you kind of really have what's that?
So much clarity.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see. Remember it was originally going to be called US Pole Fitness, is that right?
Pole Fitness USA.
Pole Fitness USA, yeah. And now you have a different energy, I think, about your business.
Yeah. So if I could speak to that really quickly, and I think this could be its whole own episode, is the journey from the original name to Vertica. And so when we originally decided to franchise, I've partnered with just these amazing partners within the franchise community. And we said, okay, what is this business going to look like? And we originally had gone down this road where we were just really focused on, hey, this is an Olympic sport. And so these training facilities were just training facilities for the Olympics. And that still exists within Vertica. As we've been talking about, we still have Team Vertica. We still have these places where people can come and prepare for the Olympics. But Scott, working with you and just your genius and the beauty of what you've brought to this brand, and it's such a gift. I mean, I just can't thank you enough, is coming home to the purpose of all of this. And yes, the Olympics is like, it's there in my mind all day, every day. We are taking this to the Olympics, but we're not taking this to the Olympics just because we think the Olympics is really cool. We're taking this to the Olympics because we believe so much in all the rest of this. And that's where, we had been doing a lot of this really deep work as to the why and the mission. And so I literally woke up one day and I called you, I messaged you, whatever it was. And I was like, Scott, I'm throwing it all away to build something new. And this was where this idea of Vertica came from, of a different concept. And it was truer to what we had already been doing and what was so successful, and to leaning into this idea of the manifesto. And so, yes, the Olympic sport exists within Vertica, but it's about the manifesto. It's about this mission. It's about everybody belongs, everybody is beautiful, and everybody has unlimited potential or can go vertical.
And what is the manifesto?
Yeah, so that's what I just said. The manifesto is 3 parts. It's everybody belongs, everybody is beautiful, and everybody can go vertical. And so go vertical is just really this phrase that we've created to embody this idea that everyone has unlimited potential. And when they put their mind to something, and when they really bring together the physical, emotional, and mental aspects of themselves, anything is possible. And so as you're asking about, what does the future look like? And even just, why did we decide to franchise? So much of this has come from my own personal beliefs and my own personal experience as far as what I have been able to achieve in my business as I have applied, this same Iron X principle to my business. Right. And so I've said, okay, if I can do this on the pole, I can do anything. And so as I've leaned to that in my business and, surrounded myself with people like yourself and, the other people that we work with, and just learning and learning and learning. I mean,
and you're getting coached. I mean, you got lots of coaches too, including Tony Robbins. So
Tony Robbins
is like, you're like leveling up.
Yeah. And this is one of the things it really is straight out of pole, right? When I decided that I was going to compete for pole, I went and I sought out the greatest coaches that I could that existed to help me to learn so that I could grow and get to my goals. And then also like I said before, I worked and I worked and I worked and I practiced and I practiced. And that's really what we've done within the business is I have sought out, right? I mean, really, even before I was competing, but especially since I've stopped competing, I've gone through this new time in my life where I'm just like, I'm putting that same energy into becoming the best that I can be as a business owner and the best that I can be as a leader. And so, we're working with Tony Robbins in the Platinum Partnership. I've gone through just every course that I can find. I'm working with a personal coach for myself, right? For myself as a leader, and just reading and reading. So I'm doing all of this hard work. I'm working with professionals in every sense of the word at every level of the business. And now we have seen that same growth in the business, right? We've seen that when you follow this recipe, just like at pole, you get the same rewards, you get the same outcome. And so we've experienced that in this business. And so as I have been taking this, another step forward of, okay, I have cracked the code of how to make a super, super successful pole studio. I've cracked the code of how to make this super meaningful for people, how to make this into this just incredible opportunity for people in pole. Now I'm ready to, I have packaged that up into this beautiful franchise because it's that same idea. I know that people who come into my building are going to go, okay, I can do this, this, this. They're going to go through this ascension path that we've created. We literally have outlined an ascension path for people. And for some people, their ascension path is just going to lead them to being super fit. For some people, their ascension path is going to lead them to the Olympics. And for some people, their ascension path is going to lead them to become a franchise owner. This is going to speak to them where they're going to see the opportunity. Yes, the financial opportunity. There's incredible financial opportunity, but for the opportunity for them to grow as a person, for them to grow as a leader, for them to grow as a business person, and to be able to create the same type of change in their little chunk of the universe, and to be able to continue to pay this forward. And that's really where I see this. This is already a growing industry in general, pole fitness is. And then here at Vertica, we have created this magical formula, this magical recipe of how to create these businesses quickly, profitably, and create massive impact for our clients. And so people are already starting to plug into this and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. And there are people from within the community, and there are also people from without the community. People who've never even tried pole are coming up to me and going, okay, I want to talk to you about franchising because this looks incredible. It's an incredible business model. It's an incredible mission, and it just looks so freaking fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've disrupted the industry. This is the next hottest, I guess, fitness franchise. I think that's going to hit the market. But it's more than that. It's actually creating a new market, a market that doesn't currently exist. And in my podcast, I literally actually this happened this morning. I'm waiting to get a time with Chip Wilson. He's the founder of Lululemon. He's probably the guy that really is responsible for making yoga as mainstream as it is today. And I look at that interview as I'm doing looking back. And I think for your podcast, imagine if Chip Wilson had started a podcast like you're doing right now, and you got to be a part of the journey. That is what I think is what this podcast is about. Is that exciting, right? Like if you're Michael Jordan, everybody, like the best movie ever made of Michael Jordan was one that can never be made. They didn't actually know the journey that led up to it. It's like always, once he became a champion, is the story and the content. You get to be part of the journey. I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I read your mission, your vision out loud,
Please?
and just have you comment?
Yeah.
So the mission, I love them because I think I'm really proud of the work you've done. So the mission to be a global community, uniquely connecting everybody who needs an empowering space to defy gravity. What does that mean?
Yeah. So just as we've been talking about this huge calling, I feel, and I'm just going to say, I feel a calling for this. I feel a deep calling, something that is pulling me into this. And yes, there have been times when I'm like, I'm going to go pursue something else. This is too hard, whatever. But I mean, I've never been able to leave this because I feel so deeply connected to this about people need a space where they can come. They can get the physical fitness that they need in their lives while becoming empowered. And then that can translate into every area of their life. We all have different levels of gravity that we're dealing with. These, metaphorical gravity. Sometimes it's really big. And we need tools of how to break free from that.
Beautiful. The vision. This is what we'll end on. And to build one of the most desirable franchise brands, growing strong to over 1,500 studios around the world, establishing vertical fitness as a globally respected sport led by us.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
So this is a big vision. And, but I really believe that this is inevitable. It's the same type of thing where if you come 3 times a week for 3 months, you're going to be doing things that were never thought were possible. I really know that as we start going, as we have begun going through all of these same steps and following the same recipe that we have created, it's inevitable that we're going to be taking over the world with pole fitness, with this vertical fitness, this new category that we've created. And, just defining vertical fitness really quickly, we said, okay, this is absolutely pole fitness, but it's so much more. This is pole fitness. And this is also mindset, and this is empowerment. And when those things come together, then we really have vertical fitness. And so, we're following these steps of sharing our business plan, creating these franchises, working with these people, and it's just a matter of time. And we will reach that for 1,500 studios. And that's when I said, well, what do we end up with? Where do we end? What does this look like when this has reached its fullness? Well, yeah, it goes all the way, just like all of the rest of the things that we've done, right? It goes all the way. And we just follow the recipe. We do the hard work. We emotionally believe in this at such a core level. And we do the work within our own mindset to make sure that this is just, we do the work within our mindset to make sure that this is possible. And there's no way that this isn't going to go all the way. this is going to become something where everyone has an opportunity to do vertical fitness, where people know about this, and where we're changing lives all over the world.
Totally. And I see the patterns. So the patterns that when you and I were at Business Mastery, I think it was Business Mastery UPW 102, and you and I saw Jamie Kern Lima on the screen. And when I look at her story, her trajectory, and her success, I think I've told other people when I've introduced you, I'm like, you're the next Jamie Kern Lima. And I'm going to put it out there. I think she's going to be on this podcast because there's such a correlation of, a connection to mission, but also the journey and the origin story. And I just believe that that's what's there for you.
Yeah, thank you. I love Jamie. I've read her book. I've heard her speak several times, and I've just connected so much. There are, like you said, so many parallels. She really went out there to change the discussion around beauty. And that's really what's happening for us is we are changing how people view fitness. We're changing it so that it's accessible and where everybody can feel beautiful while they're on their own fitness journey. And I remember Jamie, I've heard her speak several times, and as part of the last time I heard her speak, she was walking around the room as part of her talk, and she was saying, some of you are going to leave a job and go do something else, and some of you are going to do this. And then she walks right in front of me, and she stops right in front of me, and she looks me in the eyes, and she's like, and some of you are going to go out there and change the world. And I was like, yes.
And that you are. So with that, let's call an end to the podcast, unfortunately, because I think we literally could keep going. And I think you and I have another podcast between us on just your brand journey. And I can't even wait to see all the guests you bring on. Just to wrap up, where can people follow you?
Yeah.
And we'll put a bunch of links and notes, just so you know. Yeah.
So I am making my way back onto social media. So we'll put the links in the show notes for the social media that we have created, our own personal, our Vertica circle. So that's where you'll have the greatest access to me. Anyone is invited to come and join this, our personal private social media. You can also find me on Instagram. Vertica Fitness is our handle for the store. My own personal is Katrina Wyckoff _pole. And then slowly and surely you'll start seeing me in other places there on LinkedIn and TikTok and Facebook.
Amazing. So with that, everyone, I guess let's all go vertical, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.